Everyone, if you'd come in and find a seat, there's one or two there, and there are some in the back as well. We want to get started on time. We want to finish. I should turn here. We want to finish on time. Just saying. So I'm Debbie Miller. I'm the president with the Greater Woodland Park Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight. Being active in your community and knowing what's happening in your community and active in election is near and dear to my heart. For 20 years, I worked in the political system back in Illinois, and I won't tell you all the stories I could tell you about that. But anyway, I'm thrilled to see each of you out here tonight. One of the things I am going to say that isn't on Steve's rules of engagement is that we're asking each and every one of you to silent your phone and to not videotape. We are videotaping this. It should be up on the Chamber's website tomorrow. And that way it will be shown in whole and not pieces taken out and posted incorrectly or anyway, that's what the Chamber's decision was, that we didn't want it videoed tonight. So I'm asking everyone to respect all the candidates. We've asked for no placards to be inside here. And Steve's going to talk about outbursts because you don't want to hear his principal's voice when that happens. Yeah. So our moderators for this evening are Steve Wolf with Wild Heart Teachers organization and Carol Harvey, who I strive to be retired to at some point. But Carol has worked with us and Steve has worked with us many, many times on hosting these forums. So while Steve is telling the candidates the rules of engagement and the audience, I will have a basket with paper and pens. I'll go around if someone wants to write down a question. Now, the questions will be vetted. One of the things that the Chamber, we don't want to see duplicate questions of what already the moderators are going to ask. And the one thing we don't do is we don't do any personal attacks or gotcha questions. That is not fair to any candidate sitting at the dais. So Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Hey, before we begin, I'd like to outline the rules of engagement for this evening's forum. The candidate seating was determined by a random draw prior to the event, right out of that genuine basket that's going around. That same order will be followed for opening statements and responses and reversed for closing remarks. So here you go, Jeffrey. This is a forum and not a debate. Our goal tonight is to provide each candidate the opportunity to share their perspectives on the issues that matter most to voters as we approach the election. Now, each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Responses to questions will be limited to 2 minutes. If rebuttals are granted, they will be limited to 1 minute and will be at the discretion of the moderators. And what happened when we were at the school board event, we had a lot of rebuttals, and that took a lot of time. And finally, we had to kind of shut it down. So if you really have something you need to say it. But, to be talking probably isn't the best idea at this point. The technology. Now, one thing we've asked you guys, we've had it before where we've had candidates up there taking texts from the back of the room. And so please don't do that. They know not to use technology. The only technology we really have, Jeffrey has a watch that's there, but it's for health reasons. And I told him, please wear that because if you die up there, you're disqualified. And so hang in there, Jeffrey, clear to the end. Okay. So all questions were prepared by the Greater Woodland Park Chamber of Commerce and were not shared with the candidates in advance. In fact, Carol and I hadn't even seen them till yesterday. The moderators, Carol and I, received the questions shortly before the forum began. And following the prepared questions, we will invite questions from the press. Actually, even right in the middle, we're going to ask you guys if you have questions. So start putting them together, Pat. And so audience members, you have the opportunity to submit questions in writing. These will be reviewed by the chamber to ensure fairness, appropriateness, and to avoid duplication. And really, we don't, the gotcha thing, if you want to ask them a gotcha question, grab them right afterwards, grab them by the collar right here and ask your gotcha question. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. We ask you to behave, no outbursts, don't make me go all principal on you. It's they did such a good job at the school board one, and I think we only had one. And so please keep that up. That's great. We ask all the candidates this evening to respect the timekeeper, who's Ms. Tammy here, the moderators, and one another as we move through the program. So thank you. Let us begin. So we'd like to introduce the candidates from left to right. We have George Jones, Mary Sikowski, Seth Bryant, Catherine Nakai, Don DeZellem, and Jeffrey Gear. And we will begin with the 2-minute opening statements with George Jones. So George.
Thank you, Steve.
All
I
you.
appreciate that. I think I will be keeping my comments brief tonight. As you guys all know, I hope you all know, I'm running unopposed, and I'm really interested in hearing more from the city, from the voters, what our priorities need to be over the next 2 years. So I am going to be brief. I won't try not to be long-winded. I do want to thank you for coming out here tonight, and thank you for the honor of running unopposed. That's it.
Mary.
Okay, let me see if this thing works. There we go. Okay, so good evening, and thank you to the City of Woodland Park and to the Greater Woodland Park Chamber of Commerce for hosting tonight's forum. And thank you to the citizens of Woodland Park who are here participating in or watching this important civic conversation. My name is Mary Sikowski, and I've proudly called Woodland Park home for the last 14 years. I live here with my husband, Alan, and our 2 children, Nolan and Savannah. Raising our family in this community has been one of the greatest joys of my life. And I've always tried to teach my kids that being part of a community means showing up, caring for others, and serving when there is a need. Like many of you, we didn't just move here for the beautiful views. Those certainly don't hurt. We chose Woodland Park because of the people, the values, and the incredible sense of community that makes this place so special. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to serve this community in several ways. Professionally, through my career in real estate, helping families buy and sell homes and put down roots here. As a volunteer working with youth and education, including being a founding member of our local charter school, Merit Academy, and more importantly and more recently through my involvement in downtown development as part of the team working to bring the Tava House project to life. I was also honored to participate and graduate from Woodland Park's Citizens Academy in 2025. Through these experiences, I've developed a deep appreciation for what makes Woodland Park thrive. I believe in collaboration, strong community engagement, educational excellence, public safety, quality of life, preservation of individual rights, hospitality, and preserving the history and character that make Woodland Park unique. I love this community, and I want to see it continue to grow in a way that is thoughtful, balanced, and strengthens the place we all call home. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here tonight. I look forward to answering your questions and sharing more about my vision and how I hope to serve the people of Woodland Park forward together.
Thank you, Mary. Seth.
Well, first, I guess I will start off with a thank you for the chamber for hosting this event, for our moderators. See a number of city staff back there giving up their time to help facilitate this. But really, I want to thank those people in the audience who took the time out of their day to come hear about the future leaders of our city. I think it's really important to be an informed voter, and I really appreciate y'all taking the time to do that. My name is Seth Bryant. I've been on city council here for the past year, and it has been an experience that has brought a lot of growth to me. I will tell you one thing. The view from up here is very different. Really, as a citizen, I was very concerned about what my wants were for the city and what I thought the city should do. And up here, it really changes your perspective. You kind of have to put that aside a little bit and really focus on what's best for Woodland Park. And that's what I intend to do. I live here with my wife, Kelly, who's in the audience, I've got two young boys who we chose this as our forever home and the place to raise our kids. And what brought me to Woodland Park, which like Mary, wasn't just the views. They are incredible. But the values and the character of this town. And I'm not really looking to change that. I want to help preserve what brought us all here to Woodland Park. And I want to help protect what we have for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Catherine.
Hi, like everybody else, thank you to the chamber, thank you to staff, thank you all for coming out this evening. My name is Catherine Nakai, and I'm running for re-election for the Woodland Park City Council. My husband of 36 years and I have called Woodland Park home for 24 years. I'm a lifelong Coloradan who grew up in the Springs in a military family. Professionally, I work in the semiconductor industry as an integrated circuit layout designer, where my job requires careful planning, problem solving, and paying attention to detail that makes complex systems work. I bring the same approach to City Council. Over the past 4 years, I have focused on keeping Woodland Park a great place to live, work, and play. I believe in smart growth, balancing responsible development while protecting our open spaces, our water resources, and the character of our mountain community. I am proud of the progress we have made together, acquiring Avenger Open Space, Shining Mountain Golf Course, reimagining Bergstrom Park, improvements to the Meadowwood Sports Complex, updating our land use code, which we all know is near and dear to me, and moving forward with a new reservoir to help secure Woodland Park's future water. If I'm reelected, I will continue to listen, work hard, and make thoughtful decisions to keep Woodland Park a place where we all are proud to call home. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Dawn.
Thank you. I want to start off too thanking the chamber and the city for the opportunity tonight and for all the citizens that have come out to hear what we have to say. I firmly believe that an informed citizen is an informed voter and knows what's going on. I've been here in Woodland Park since the early 90s. When I moved here, I became active in the community with the Rotary Club. I was the Bell Ringer of the Year. I was co-chairman with J.J. Jameson of the scholarship committee that established the Rotary Scholarship for seniors here in Teller County. And at that time, the community came together to get things done, such as the Leathers playground or the wooden playground out in front of Gateway. That was all built by volunteers and other things in the community. Woodland Park has changed over the years from a bedroom community for Colorado Springs to what I like to call kind of a mountain western college town, which is a concern to many who deal with the traffic, the water, farm irrigation, and other issues as the city grows. Over the last 6 years, I've attended just about every city council meeting and work session that they've had. I've chaired the parks, trails, parks, open space, and sustainability section of the 2030 comprehensive plan. I've served, I want to say it was the 2023 charter review committee or 22. One of those. And I currently serve on the planning commission for the last 3 years and on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for the last 6. I know the issues and I've worked on helping to make Woodland Park the place that we are proud to live in by my involvement and continued involvement in the community.
Thank you, Don. Jeffrey.
Well, one of the advantages of going last is you get an opportunity to hear what everyone else has to say. So in an effort to not duplicate too many things, I do want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I want to thank the chamber for putting this event on. I want to thank city staff for helping facilitate the event. I want to thank my wife for being here. This is an exciting time to be here. We've done a lot of amazing things as a community over the past couple of years. Seth said something that really echoed with me. The view from up here is a completely different perspective than down there. One of the things I told Seth when he got appointed is, when you're sitting down in the audience or you're at the podium and you're speaking, half the room's not really paying attention to what's going on. But when you're sitting up here, everyone is paying attention to what is going on. and I don't take that responsibility lightly. You know, it's been an interesting 2 years that I've served so far. We've had some challenges, but again, like I said before, we've done some truly great things sitting up here, and it's been an honor to serve with this council, and I certainly look forward to the opportunity to continue to serve you, the citizens, and this community. As for me personally, you know, I try to do my very best to do what I think is right for the citizens and for this community. So I think that we as a group have done that time and time again. So again, thank everyone for coming out tonight. I look forward to the questions and kind of seeing what you guys came up with. And otherwise, thank you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Okay, we're going to move on to a general question. Everybody's going to get an opportunity to answer, and so there really is no need for rebuttal on this one. So we're going to start with George. So George, why are you running for city council? Well, let's say not city council. Let's go with mayor. And what are your top 2 priorities for Woodland Park over the next 2 years? You might explain also how you would measure success.
Ooh, okay. Good one. All right. So why I'm running for mayor? I too echo what the incumbents have said, which is we've done some pretty powerful things over the last 2 years, and I'd love to see that continue. I'd love to see us continue to develop what we started with Shining Mountain, with Avenger. Bergstrom is going to be a fantastic little park in the middle of downtown. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's why I'm running, is because I want to continue and drive this change in a meaningful, thoughtful way, not just, unfettered growth. Top 2 priorities. Well, I'd say one of the incumbents said it best, probably water security, big priority. And I'd say continuing on with the development of the things we started. Those have to get finished.
All right. Thank you, George. I'm going to read the question one more time.
Yeah.
And then I won't read it again unless you need it. Okay. Why are you running for city council, Mary? And what are your top 2 priorities for Woodland Park over the next 2 years? And if you wouldn't mind, explain how you would measure success.
Well, I'm running for city council because I really love this community. I've lived here for 14 years, and I've seen quite a bit of change since the time when I first moved here. And Woodland Park being one of the more beautiful places on the planet to live, and one of the areas in which we have some tremendous opportunity for healthy growth for our residents and for visitors. I want to be part of the leadership team to see that through. I agree with George that the projects that are just beginning to be underway in our community with the park development, the integration of connecting parks and making our town more walkable, bikeable, making it easier for people to get around is something that I'm really excited to work on, and I would consider to be one of the priorities as we move forward and working together on council for that. Also, we've had a lot of division, drama, I would say, in this town. It goes back way before I was even here. I think, as I talk to people that have been here for 20 or more years, they've seen, different subjects come up, and it's created a lot of conversation. And I'm looking forward to trying to pull that together in a way that we can move forward healthy together as a city and be more unified. So what I would see as success in that is over the next few years to see more of us working together, listening to the community, allowing the community their opportunity for their voice to be heard, and giving us the opportunity to gather that information and move forward in a healthy way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Seth.
Why I am running for city council? Well, it really boils down to I've got a heart for service. I've been taught from a young age, if you get involved with something, leave it better than you found it. And since we chose this as our long-term home, that's been my goal, is to make some sort of impact in my community that leaves it better than I found it. My top two goals for the upcoming term. Well, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I do believe water security is vitally important to Woodland Park. Seeing through the Glen Aspen reservoir is definitely a large step to us achieving water security. And the second one is really three things. It's the three P's of good governance, which is police, parks, and potholes. You know, if we're taking care of the basics and we're focused on those things that really serve all of our community, I think that's good governance. I'm very much for limited government. And so if we're not getting our hands everywhere they could go, and we're focusing on the things that we hear the most about, that's how we're going to provide good service and good government to our citizens. And success, well, I mean, there's the high measure of not a single pothole in Woodland Park, but I know that the roads are a big job, and we've got an amazing public works department that is working just as hard as possible to get those done. But for me, it's really going to be efficient and quiet city council meetings. If we are not getting off track, and if we are focusing on the things we need to, and we don't have 100,000 people signed up for public comment, that probably means we're doing something right. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Seth. Catherine.
Well, yes, everybody's echoed pretty much what I've said, but I'm running to continue what we started 4.5 years ago, or to continue to serve my community that I love so much. Getting involved, I got involved in 2019 with the Board of Adjustment, and I've loved being part of the service of serving our community. The top two priorities, like everybody, it's water. As a member of the Utility Advisory Committee since I was appointed in 2021, water is my #1 goal, and it's protecting it. So we've strived towards the new reservoir, where we hit a few bumps along the way, not potholes, hit a few bumps along the way, but it's still moving forward, not backwards. And then protecting our open spaces and developing those respectfully and with the community's input and involvement.
All right. Thank you, Catherine. Dawn.
Hi. Why am I running for city council? I'm kind of like Seth. I've always been taught that you should serve. One of the things that I've always carried with me out of Rotary was their motto, service above self. I believe in that. The top two things: water and smart growth of the city. How are we going to do that in the future? And also the parks and recreation aspect of it. We've made some very important and timely purchases of property that can be used recreationally and in many other ways over the last year. And I would like to help see them get developed and be everything that they can for the community, as far as access to national forest, places to expand out and maybe put community gardens in a couple of other places in town, so they're just not in front of City Hall. Maybe the golf course, maybe Cavalier Park, something like that. Spread them out so they're easily accessible to the community. But the biggest thing I'd really like to see done in the next couple of years is to get the connectivity in town worked out to where you can figure out how to get from one side of town to the other using sidewalks and a trail system. And with Tava House coming in and stuff, that's just going to tie a lot of those pieces together. So if it's done right.
Okay, thank you, Don. Jeffrey.
So why am I running? As weird as this is going to sound, I enjoy it. Being involved in civic government is not always the most exciting thing, but I truly enjoy it. I enjoy being part of the minutia of decisions that shape the future of the community. I enjoy serving the people. I think each and every one of us up here, to an extent, has a bit of a servant's heart, and I'm no exception to that rule. So as far as top two priorities go, I'm a Parks and Rec guy. We've worked really hard on the Meadowood Master Plan. The price tag on it hurts my eyes when I look at it. But the reality is, we've got some money set aside to get going. The Hockey Association was at a recent council meeting of ours. I'm super excited to upgrade the facilities there, to get the roof, to get the chiller. Measuring success on that one's pretty easy. Did we get the roof? Did we get the chiller? Did we get the locker rooms? As far as the secondary priority goes, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but water security is going to be probably the issue in Colorado over the next 50 years. There's too many people and not enough water. So from our perspective, I'm really excited to get the reservoir built. The reservoir is not necessarily about water per se. It's about augmentation water, which I wish Kip was here. He can give us a really good lesson again about how that works. But both of those things improve the quality of life for our residents, and that's a big deal to me. So.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey. Now we're coming back to you, George,
Okay.
and everybody here on in. You have 2 minutes to answer. You can have a rebuttal if you wish to do so, and like I said, that's at our discretion. But just behave. Okay, first question here, George, is Woodland Park operates under a city manager form of government. Do you believe this structure serves the city well, or should Woodland Park consider a strong mayor form of government, and why?
I think we get this one every time, which is okay. Actually, I love the collaboration between council and the city manager. So I think we should keep it as it is. I think the collaboration is very good. The collaboration amongst the council has been stellar over the last 2 years. I think that this form of government works best for this size city. I know at one point there was an attempt to do more of a strong mayor model, but I haven't seen it work very well unless you go to very large cities like Colorado Springs. That would be the model. I think, that would be the environment you would see something like that in. So I would vote to stay and keep it as it is.
Okay, thank you, George.
Sure.
Okay, moving on. Mary, how will you ensure transparency? How will you ensure transparency and public confidence in city decision-making, such as work sessions, executive sessions, communications, and what specific practices will you support?
Well, transparency is very important. It's important to keep the community engagement and letting them know what's going on, what's coming up. I think that for what the city of Woodland Park has had in their systems that are already in place, with meetings being open, recorded, online for future look backs, and for people that aren't able to attend to see, that's really important to continue. And as technology gets better and we get into this AI world, being able to allow our community to have access to all those records and easy resources is very important. When it comes to decisions that are being made, it's important that when there's something that needs discretion, that the appropriate channels are taken to allow that discretion and let those plans develop, and then roll them out to the public at the appropriate time, and then to allow the public to be able to effectively voice their opinion on that. I love that we've had in the past, and I would like to see continued community engagement meetings. I think What's Up Woodland Park has been a really great resource that we've had for the community to be able to just see the news reports and see some of the chatter back and forth that has helped to kind of set the tone for what's going on. So in transparency, those are some of my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. One of the things I'm not going to do is ask, do you have a rebuttal? If you have a rebuttal, just say, raise your hand and we'll holler at you, okay? Super. We'll move on. Seth, Tell us your top 3 performance indicators, which would be sort of a public dashboard that you want the city to publish and review regularly.
Oh, gosh. Top 3. If there was a way to measure community engagement, I think that would be a great one. An engaged community is a consenting community. If they are part of the developing of plans and processes and members of those committees, things like that, that really help the leadership of the city make decisions and chart our course, I think community engagement's a great indicator. Another one would be efficiency. How much bang for the buck are we getting as taxpayers and citizens? Not 100% sure how to measure that. Aaron, if you would work on that maybe. But I really do think efficiency is a measure of effective government. If we're able, like we have been doing, to negotiate contracts for repairing our streets that come back under budget, that's great. We get to get more work done for the same dollar that we've appropriated to those measures. And the third, I think, is just a quality of life, general happiness. If your government is not operating efficiently, I think that impacts people on a day-to-day, and it gives them concerns and worries and a little more on their mind than they should have. I think a well-running government is one that citizens maybe aren't thinking about right before they go to bed, or getting a pit in their stomach when they start churning over the matters of the day. I think if government's doing what they should do, it leaves citizens a lot more time to pursue the things they want to do, and that makes them happy. So those 3 things, Steve.
Great. Thank you, Seth.
I guess it is over to me now, and I hope Mr. Vassalotti was listening to that. I like those recommendations,
Yeah.
especially that last one. The next set of questions are going to concern housing, neighborhood impacts, and short-term rentals. And my first question will go to Catherine. The citizen-driven short-term rental ordinance limiting non-owner occupied STRs in certain residential areas has been in place for about 2 years now. Do you believe the ordinance should remain as is, or should council consider modifications? And if they were to change it, what would you change?
I wouldn't change anything. The citizens, I think, have spoken pretty loudly with the vote and continuing to voice their concerns about it on social media, so I wouldn't change it.
And again, as Steve mentioned, if you would like to respond, it's not necessarily a rebuttal, but if you'd like to take a minute's time to talk to any of the questions that are posed to the individual candidates, please do. So seeing none, I'll go to Dawn. What role should the city play, if any, in supporting attainable workforce housing while protecting neighborhood character and infrastructure capacity?
The city's job isn't to promote it. Attainable workforce housing is needed, but that's a private sector issue. The city can't give incentives. The city can't do things to encourage it other than maybe make their planning directives and such easier for a developer to use. And that's not saying go in and change it so that it's easier to be done, but the proper role of government is not to incentivize the private sector. So.
Thank you, Don. Jeff, this one's for you. What concerns do you hear most often from city residents about growth or housing, and how should the city address them?
Well, the most consistent theme that I hear is most people here like it just the way that it is. Anytime there's any kind of development or growth, there's a natural tendency for existing residents to be concerned about whether or not that growth is responsible, whether or not it's in the best interest of the city. And Woodland Park is no different. Catherine once ran on a slogan of "Keep Woodland Park, Woodland Park," and I really think that kind of epitomizes how do we strike that balance between those two things? The unfortunate side of, trying to keep things the way they are is municipalities typically have two directions. They're either growing or dying, and there usually isn't very much in between. So you really have to figure out a way to grow in a manner that fits the character of the community, that fits the culture and the values of the community. And I think if you can do that, you've got something going. The problem, of course, is that that's very, very difficult. So it definitely is a challenge, and it's something that we, as part of council, we're limited in our involvement in how we can do that. Our charter has several different restrictions that limit us. So, it's kind of a difficult spot to be in. But me personally, I think you always want to find that balance.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Carol. Sorry, I don't have a rebuttal, but I want to come alongside Jeff's answer there.
Okay.
And just, let folks know, we with Avenger and with Shining Mountain, we're basically heading a different direction. We're taking developable property off the market and creating open space with it. So I think that's kind of the tenor of what this council anyway, and hopefully the next one, that's kind of the tenor of how directionally we're moving.
All right, thank you. Anyone else care to comment on that? Okay. Oh, Mary, please.
I just a quick comment on that, because I agree. I also want to recognize that responsible growth brings more revenues to the city that we would need to maintain those types of open spaces that we are taking on, so that they're not a liability. And so there is a healthy balance there that we do need to strike, and ensuring that we do have enough space to grow, to house people that do want to live here while maintaining open space for the current residents in the community.
Thank you. Over to you, Steve.
All right. I've been notified that we should make George go first every time. So Mary, I'm going to move to you on this next section of questions. This is on fiscal stewardship, sales tax policy. So Woodland Park charges local sales tax on groceries and food, like many municipalities do in Colorado. Would you consider reducing or removing that? Why or why not?
Well, I think one of the most difficult components to living in Colorado and in Woodland Park and in our Front Range communities is the affordability factor. If we remove a grocery tax, it is going to help our citizens have better access to groceries without it breaking their budget. So it is something I think is worth exploring. I don't think it's a unilateral decision that could be made or that would even be dependent on my personal opinions. I think it is something that we would need to carefully evaluate in the community to see if there's an appetite for that type of significant change, because as I just mentioned in my last statement, revenues are important for community sustainability. So if we decrease our revenues, where do we offset that with is that going to help retention of families to be able to stay here, or growth of families to be able to move here that would now spend more in our community? Tourism, do we increase that to increase revenue? So it's a larger conversation than just a grocery tax that I would look forward to engaging with the community about.
All right, thank you, Mary. Catherine, do you have a response?
I don't know if it's a rebuttal, but just for the community's knowledge, 70% of our general fund comes from that sales tax. So that's really hard to replace with tourism or an increase in fees or whatever else. So I don't think it monetarily makes sense at this point in time.
Thank you. Jeffrey?
I think the important thing to add there is, because of the amount of revenue that our city relies on from the grocery tax, the question I would ask anyone who wants to cut it is, do you enjoy having a police department? Do you enjoy having quality roads? Do you enjoy these things? Because everything has a cost. I personally abhor taxes, but the reality is they're a necessary evil. And we have a really safe community, and we've invested a lot of time and energy with making our police department world-class. And I just would like anyone considering that to consider the consequences of that.
Yeah, thank you. Moving on to Seth. Seth, in the past, the city approved a 1.09% sales tax that was collected by the city and passed through to the Woodland Park RA2 school district through an intergovernmental agreement. That tax was later repealed. Would you support the city working with the school district again to create a similar agreement and tax in the future? Why or why not?
Well, I definitely recognize that strong schools are an integral part of a strong community. That being said, I do not think that any sort of reinstatement of that type of funding should come from the dais. Frankly, I'd be worried that it would appear political in nature. And I do think that if the citizens of Woodland Park desire that, and I know there is a large calling for us to figure out some way to assist our schools, but there are mechanisms for the citizens to bring that forth. I did see a number of issues with the way the last sales tax was structured. I think a sunset in any future measure would be appropriate. I think specific uses would be appropriate. And frankly, should the citizens ever bring a ballot initiative forward for that, I would like to see them not put the city council in the middle of it. Really, something like that should be pretty cut and dry. It shouldn't be political. There are a few models that would facilitate that, like grant and reimbursement funding. So if the citizens decided they wanted to put forth this tax to help with the COP of the schools, there'd be a way for the school to say, hey, we paid the COP, here's our paperwork, and the check gets cut really by almost a third party at that nature. And it takes politics out of it. And schools are definitely one of those things that have kind of enough political influence pushing on them that if we can take some of that away, that'd be great. So I would not like to see it come from up here on the dais. But if the citizens brought that forth, I think that would be a better avenue for it.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Just one point I'd like to add is that the city sales tax, as we had it, didn't really represent all of the families that were involved or stakeholders in the WPSD RE2 decisions. So I agree that keeping it centralized to just Woodland Park might not be the wise decision in the future. Maybe broadening a discussion to something that would encompass all those stakeholders would be wise.
Okay, thank you. Jeffrey.
I think it's important to point out that the school district has its own funding mechanism available to it. So if they feel like the funding provided by the state is inadequate, which of course it is, they have an opportunity to go to the voters and ask for a mill levy increase. I chuckled when Seth got the question because of all the people sitting up here. He kind of came in after that. It was an extremely difficult process to go through. It's easy to draw conclusions based on things, but that was the hardest thing that we had to deal with as a council. It changed our council, and I got to tell you, I would not look forward to going through that again.
All right, thank you. Okay, move on to Catherine. If revenues tighten, what service area do you protect first? And what service areas would you be most willing to reduce? And could you give an example of each? That's not a gotcha question.
No,
Really.
so yeah, that is. So if they were tightened, I would try to keep city services, police, water, fire, or we don't do fire, sorry, police, water, our streets, our plows, basically city safety first. Unfortunately, the thing that would likely get cut, which it always does, is beautification, our parks. The same thing happens in the springs. I don't know that I agree with it, but that seems to be the wisest way to go. So what does that answer your question well enough, or was there more to it?
No, I think that's
okay.
And no one else wants to? All
right. Fine, I'll do it. So
go ahead, Jeff.
The number one thing you have to protect is you have to protect our police department. We spend a lot of money on it. Like I've already said before, we've worked really hard to make our police department world class. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give Chief Deisler a ton of credit in doing that. So you have to protect that first. Unfortunately, like Catherine said, what comes is the collateral damage of that is the beautification, the parks and the recreation departments, things like that. But you've got to keep the police department strong.
All right, this next set of questions, we'll talk about our downtown, our DDA, and our charter. And the first question will go to Don. Don, the Downtown Development Authority, or DDA, will sunset in the coming years. I think it's 2032, actually. Would you support allowing it to end as planned, or would you consider extending it, and why?
I think it served its purpose. It needs to go. The Tava House projects going in where it was, that area was designed for the DDA to go in and take care of. I say let it sunset out.
I just wanted to chime in on there. And I agree with Don. I think the DDA does need to retire the TIF, which is the incremental financing that is taken away from other taxing districts, taxing authorities like the school board or the school district. So when the TIF expires in 2032, the DDA still may exist, but the TIF will go away. And those monies will be returned to the appropriate taxing jurisdictions. And that, I think, is a great thing.
I think Seth was next and then Mary.
So my viewpoint on this is really, frankly, sunsetting the DDA is going to be a decision for another council. At that point, they're going to be able to choose to extend it or not, or let it naturally sunset. What I think will be the responsibility of this council is preparing for it to sunset. Regardless of what future elected officials decide, we need to put the city in the best position to be able to handle that transition.
Thank you. Mary?
Great way to segue into what I was going to say, which is I think over the next couple of years, we have a really good opportunity to develop the other programs that are already beginning, like the Main Street program, allowing that to flourish and develop in a way that continues some of the goal of the DDA right now, which is, downtown development, beautification and things, keeping Woodland Park beautiful, Parks and Rec, and creating a system in which those departments can collaborate well together for a common goal of making the downtown area even better.
Thank you, Mary. Any other comments on our DDA? Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree it should sunset. Me personally, I think tax increment financing is unconstitutional. I definitely, would support the sunsetting of the DDA, but, it has to come in a logical and thought through process, which is something George already touched on. The existing TIFs that are out there, they need to be fulfilled. Those are agreements that were made that need to be upheld. So until those are expired, we're kind of limited, but long term, yes, I definitely think it served its purpose.
Jeff, thank you. This next question is your question. Do you support the measures being referred to voters in the April election, the April 7th election, including recall process timing changes and the proposed mayor council stipend? Why or why not?
So I definitely support all three charter amendments that are coming up. The stipend one is probably the third rail one, if you will. The reality is, we're citizen volunteers, really, essentially, at the end of the day. And in our region, there's only one other municipality, correct? There's one that doesn't pay its council something. This is a time commitment. It's a challenge for people like myself who have a day job. And I think, not being able to give people something is a discouragement for other people to serve. To some people, they can't carve out, 2:00 on a Tuesday afternoon to go meet for a couple of hours with a committee or the city manager or whatever. And I really think having that stipend would open up the opportunities for people to be willing to serve. it's definitely a challenge. And I feel like what the Charter Review Committee came up with as far as dollar amounts was very reasonable and very practical in comparison to our region. So I definitely support all three, but that one specifically, I do hope the citizens have enough confidence in us and that they pass that.
Thank you. Catherine,
You knew that was coming.
I hoped.
Yeah, so as far as the charter, the stipends go, Teller County has 3 municipalities, Victor, Cripple Creek, and Woodland Park. Victor and Cripple Creek both pay their council members and their mayor. Monument didn't pay them when we started this, but they now pay them. So it seems to me that it's not an insignificant amount of, or it's not an insignificant ask for us to be to be paid slightly. It's not a living wage. It's it's $500 a meeting. So that's pretty much what I had on that.
Any other comments on that? And there are 3 charter amendments that will appear on the ballot. And from what I understand, the chamber will be publishing an explanation with the pros and cons of those tomorrow on their website. Seth, go ahead.
Yeah, so addressing the 2 other charter amendments that are going to be on the ballot. One is really just some language corrections and alignments with modern terminology. There's no real impact to our code or our charter. It's just kind of aligning with best practices. The next one is for the recall timing, and it extends the timing for certification of a recall petition from 5 to 14 days. And really that's aligning with what all the statutory communities in Colorado do. We've got a very limited staff here. They work their tails off. And I know during the last recall efforts, there were so many hours put in, and giving them more time puts less pressure on the process, makes sure it gets done completely and right. Although I've got every confidence that it has been done completely and right. But it allows our limited resources to continue to do their other jobs while these things may happen.
Thank you. No other comments on that. George, this comes around to you, and I swear these are random questions, but this one's coming to you, and I think you're the right guy to answer it.
Oh, okay.
Beyond downtown, what should the city's role be in supporting local businesses and economic stability?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So as Mary talked about, we did reestablish Main Street, our downtown Main Street program. And that to me is going to be the future arm of, interacting and helping, coming alongside of businesses where they can. I do believe the DDA in the meantime, because of the funding that is there, just whether it's unconstitutional or not, but the funding that is there is going to be used to do things for the downtown businesses within the Downtown Development Authority District, within the Main Street District, like the micro grant program, like the beautification effort that's going on. You'll see this year, actually this spring, I think we're going to see some really big improvements in flowers and the downtown look and appeal. This year, we're providing $200,000 in micro grant reimbursements to businesses that would like to take us up on that. So, and that's over and above the 138 that was doled out last year. So if this continues, which I hope that it would, over the next course of a few years, there's going to be some pretty significant changes to the downtown from a beautification perspective. And then Tava, you got that coming in too.
Then, Jeff, go ahead.
For the record, I love the beautification program and the micro grant programs, and I think that they've done some really amazing things to our downtown. So,
All right, thank you. Hey, the next few questions are about open space, parks, and recreation. And Seth, we're going to jump to you on this one. The city recently purchased Shining Mountain Golf Course. Should the city now, as a municipal golf course owner, break even financially, operate as a park amenity subsidized like other recreation, or generate modest revenues to support parks and recreation programs?
Well, one of the things that I really appreciate about acquiring Shining Mountain is that unlike a lot of other parks and recs type facilities, like our aquatic center, like our public parks, like Meadowwood, is municipal golf courses have the opportunity to run in the black. They have an opportunity to be revenue generating for the city. They serve as a conduit to bring outside visitors in. I mean, if you played Shining Mountain, it is a challenging course, but you cannot beat the views. And I think that the city is doing the right investment right now to entice those outside visitors, to be able to turn that into a revenue generating opportunity for the city. And with every revenue generating opportunity that we have, that gives us, the potential to be able to lower the cost of living other places. So I'm going with option 3. I would like to see it run in the black to generate some revenue for this city. But the big asterisk there is it needs to be accessible still for residents. I do not want to see $150 green fees. I want anybody in Woodland Park who has an afternoon off and it wants to go enjoy the outdoors to be able to grab their clubs and take advantage of it.
All right, thank you. Catherine?
I totally wholeheartedly agree with Seth. I do want the community to understand that it's not going to run in the black this year, most likely. It's going to take us a few years to get there. We have a lot of work to do to repair and make it what we want it to be.
Okay, thank you. Catherine, I'm going to come back to you. What 2 factors should guide future city decisions on open space acquisition and use?
What 2 factors? I would say cost and availability. I don't know that there could be anything else.
Okay.
Don had it.
Don?
I think you also have to throw in their location. Location has to do a lot with what you acquire, because if it butts up against nothing that's useful, like we can't have access to national forest or something else, we just bought ourselves a useless piece of land. If the city has several little pieces of land that are been given to the Parks and Rec Department over the years by developers because they gave that in lieu of fees, and it's useless land. So location has got a lot to do with it.
Anyone else want to comment, especially on the Shining Mountain? Seeing nothing, then we're going to go to the next section of questions, and those are on growth, utilities, and infrastructure capacity. Don, this is yours. What should guide decisions on growth and development approvals, especially with TAP availability and infrastructure capacity? How should the city communicate the rules of the road to residents and builders?
We've already got guidelines that we use each year. The city council, in cooperation with KIP, sets a number of water taps that are available each year. The number of water taps basically will help limit the development during that year. If you have 80 water taps available for the year, you can't go over 80 developments. And we haven't been hitting anywhere near that in the last 6 years or so. So the water taps is one way to help control that, or to help bring that in line. The other part of it is that Woodland Park is running out of developable land. We're done a lot of infill, like behind Arby's in there, where you've seen a lot of smaller lots get housing lately. And you don't see much land that's left for major developments other than what's already been planned years ago and are still being developed. A lot of what's going to be coming in the future is going to be your multifamily housing. And that may be good or that may be bad. As that type of housing is needed in a degree up here. Can't guarantee that it meets the affordability part of it, though.
Anyone else would like to comment on
Could
that?
you, I'm sorry, could you just repeat the question again?
The questions, what should guide decisions on growth and development approvals? And I think Don
Okay.
very well described the TAP availability. And then the rest of it was how should the city communicate that rules of the road to residents and developers? And I think Don has talked to that. Does anyone else like to comment on that?
The only thing, we do have the water tap fee. The fire department is going to be implementing an impact fee as well. So there will be some interesting challenges for developers, that's for sure. I do know that the city, we have in the past tried to, announce these things and give developers an opportunity to come up to the podium and hear or do work sessions. Work sessions are typically the best way to really address that with developers.
Jeff, this next question is for you. How should the city balance infrastructure needs with keeping water and utility rates affordable for the residents?
Well, that's always a challenge. There's a cost to deliver water. There's a cost to put streets down. There's a cost to maintain them. We have a unique challenge right now in that Woodland Park was largely paved at once it's been about 35 years now, with a lifetime of all of that pavement of about 30 years. So we're already playing catch up to an extent. And we'll be continuing to play catch up for the foreseeable future. The reality is, we only have so much funding to work with, and we have to use that funding in a wise and thoughtful manner. One of the big challenges in that, though, is the cost to deliver those services. I've lived in a lot of places in the country. I feel like what we pay for our water and sewer is reasonable compared to other experiences that I've had, and I know that KIP puts a lot of time and effort into keeping those rates as constant as they can be and not increasing them year over year. Inflation is kind of the dirty aspect of all of this, in that as inflation affects you, it affects us. What it costs to buy equipment, what it costs to do things. So you always struggle a little bit, I think, to find that balance between having reasonable rates, reasonable tax levels, reasonable mill levies, in conjunction with what it actually costs to do things. So it is a challenge that doesn't have an obvious easy button, unfortunately.
Seth, and then Mary.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of go back to what Jeff said, especially with the example of our streets. Really, we do have a lot of roads failing at the same time, but when we talked about metrics, one of them I mentioned was efficiency. And I think that's one of the ways we're able to keep costs down for our residents. We are addressing roads in a priority pattern that takes care of things that are actively failing, but we're also evaluating streets. And if we can do a little patch and spread some of the tar in the cracks and keep those ones going for a little bit longer so we can push out the replacement timeline for those, I think that's one of the ways that the city is trying to keep costs low for citizens, is by actively evaluating our resources and our challenges at all times.
Thanks, Seth. Mary?
I don't say this, I say this kind of jokingly, but not. We can't require every citizen in Woodland Park take Citizens Academy. But education is huge. And I will say, and I think Seth will agree, and I know Don will, that going through the educational component of that and just understanding where some of the citizens can pitch in to be more a better steward of water resources and things, and understanding where it will allow the city to be more efficient with water use, for example, is great. So I think the city being even more proactive in the educational component with our citizens to let them know how that impacts the overall cost is great.
Oh, great plug for the Academy.
Catherine.
Yeah, I had one more comment.
Okay.
So one of the challenges for infrastructure in general is that for us to keep costs down for our citizens, we typically have to raise costs for development. Our tap fees typically go up 3 to 5% a year, whether developers like it or not. There are other fees that get tacked onto that from the state as well. So it's a fine balance. We can raise our water rates or raise the development cost. So it's a very difficult problem to solve that we have to work at each year.
and I'm going to show my age. I've been to Woodland Park when there were no paved streets,
Yeah.
and that wasn't that long ago. Okay.
Actually, it was.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
they-
in the last century. That's
Yeah,
true.
they paved my
All right,
road
George, this
right
is
up
your
on Newfield.
question.
Oh, boy.
George, what's your approach to prioritizing the roads, drainage, sidewalks, and capital maintenance, especially when our needs exceed our available dollars? I think some have already addressed this,
Yes,
but
yeah, I
please go
think
ahead.
Seth addressed that very well, and I would just echo what he had said. And we know that, the city is actively doing that. In fact, I was just talking with a friend of mine out there who's got a pothole, and we're putting it into the priority list, right? So that's exactly what we're doing, is prioritizing, or that's exactly what the city's doing, is prioritizing these projects from the failure perspective to I liked what you said, can we or lengthen that timeline on that road?
Good. Guys, you're doing a great job. Appreciate you. Right now, we're going to have the press. We'll be allowed to ask questions. We still have a couple more. Each of you, if you've not counted, and Mary, you should be counted because you got one more question coming. And there actually is a 19th question. So I'm going to throw that at the mayor candidate at the end. But right now, we'll take some time if there are questions from our press row up here in the front row to my left.
Yeah, everything has been great about it. I'm sorry.
We got you. No, it's green. Green is go.
Okay, thank you. But I was thinking about the local angle, and I was thinking about downtown. I can't even think of a corporation that's downtown. Even our new development is local, and the city helped make that decision. Would you be dedicated? Because I'm thinking about the Springs. They just went haywire on corporations, and we just have a small downtown there that's local, and some of that isn't even local. So would you be dedicated to try to keep things local? Is that important to you?
So, Pat, thank you for the question. I love the local, I'm so I love the localness of the downtown. I'm kind of, me personally, this is nothing that the city can have anything to do with. Honestly, me personally, I'd love to keep that local flavor around. And I think what does that is attracting or making the downtown attractive and making it vibrant with things like the Tava project and new restaurants coming in that kind of, at one point there may have been discussion that this was a food desert, but now we've got great restaurants all downtown and beyond, right, that extend along 24, and we'll have another one coming online soon, and a concert venue too. So I think keeping it local is my opinion. But I don't think the city, the council, the dais has anything to do with that. So I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, I realize that. I'm just hoping you'd say you hopefully keep things local. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Catherine?
mean, we'd all love to have local businesses, but the, the municipal code, the land use regulations, that dictates if a corporation comes up here and if they meet all the conditions of that zone, we don't have a choice. We can't say no because we don't want Les Schwab up here, or we don't want Walmart up here. We don't have a choice. We have to follow the law.
I think too, that you're gonna find that the way our downtown is laid out, there's not a lot of big national companies that are gonna come in and try to put something into a building the size that we have. And I mean, I'm the guy that works at the big box, and my button that I wear a lot is shop local. So, I mean, local is where it's at. You got to support your local businesses. And if you do, they'll continue to grow, they'll thrive, and they'll bring in other businesses like them or that will associate with them that'll complement each other. So, I mean, the vibrancy of the downtown is very important.
Thank you.
You want to go first?
If you don't mind.
By
You
all
seem to like
means.
going last. I'm going to piggyback on there. I definitely think the more local businesses we have in our downtown and our community, the better we're going to do. We obviously can't directly incentivize businesses, but if we have strong infrastructure, good roads, an attractive downtown, a eager and willing workforce, a hardworking workforce here in Woodland Park, I think those are going to be natural attractors for small business. The fact of the matter is that small businesses employ most of the United States.
Yep.
Small businesses bring in most of the revenue in the United States. And really that's the foundation of our history. The more local business that shows up in Woodland Park, I think that will be a better community for it.
Thank you.
Seth stole my answer. So I was just going to say that, the fact of the matter is in our economy, small businesses are the backbone. Without them, the economy does not function. So from that perspective, I would love to see as many local businesses as we could possibly fit. It's an exciting thing. It's exciting for the community. It's exciting for the residents. Unfortunately, there's not a lot any of us up here could do about that. But from a personal note, I think our downtown is a solid downtown, but I have this vision in my head of what it could be. Unfortunately, to get it to where I'd like to see it, we've got to somehow figure out how to get the reliever route built. That I think if by some way we can get that done, what we can do with our downtown truly becomes transformative, and not really from the dais, but from the community. So,
Thank you.
So one point that I would like to make on development, and I agree with everybody, but what we don't want to see are a lot of local people who have a lot of energy and a lot of vision and enthusiasm around opening businesses downtown be set up for failure. We as a city can do the due diligence ahead of time to provide economic data and planning to those business owners so that they have the tools in the toolbox to know, is this something that would thrive and survive in Woodland Park? And so that is something that we could do proactively as city leadership to facilitate that sort of economic overall planning. And I know our comprehensive plan is going to be coming back up in a couple of years, and we'll be talking about that through this next council in preparation for that. And so taking the time to gather that data and be able to communicate that to future business owners is a high priority.
Thank you.
Hello, can you guys hear me? All right. A lot of the communities in the Pikes Peak area now are exploring recreational marijuana. Cripple Creek, Cripple Creek, now Colorado Springs, and and I think there's some other ones too. What are your views on recreational marijuana? Do you feel the city should maybe open the door a little bit? That could give you guys some extra revenue, another revenue source, for some of your projects for the open space and stuff like that.
So this question comes up every time. And I'm going to say the same answer I've always said. I don't think, or I personally from the dais would not entertain recreational marijuana. If the citizens of Woodland Park want it, they can do like Jerry did with the STRs or any other do a citizens initiative and put it on a ballot. I don't think that should be regulated from up here.
yeah, I mean, this was always tricky because it's the tax revenue that tends to come with it is really hard for municipalities to ignore. That's just a simple fact. Unfortunately, it can go two ways. You can use that tax revenue wisely and plan appropriately, or you can try the Manitou model where they passed it, they taxed the heck out of it, they built a budget around it, and then Colorado Springs cut their legs off. So, that's the challenge. Now, from a budgetary standpoint, should we do it as a community? I kind of echo Catherine's sentiments on that. From the dais, I don't think it's something that our community wants. I know I've not had anyone come up to me and go, look, I really wish you'd propose a recreational cannabis sales ordinance. I've never had anyone say that to me. So I truly believe that if that's something this community wants to do, then it needs to be generated and really brought to us by the community. But admittedly, the tax revenue that would come from it is hard to ignore. But at the end of the day, this community does a really good job by and large of informing each other of what we want this place to be. And so for something like that, I really think it needs to be community driven.
The
Seth.
citizens are the ones that,
I'm sorry, don't go ahead. You're on a roll. Then Seth.
sorry, Seth.
No, you're quite all right, Don.
The citizens are the one that should bring any initiative like that up. It's not the role of the council to say, hey, let's do that. And let's allow it so we can have the tax income. If you go back and look historically at things, a sin tax kind of thing never seems to work out. Like Manitou, Pueblo ran into that problem a bit. Haven't heard much about how it's working at Cripple Creek, but I remember when recreational marijuana opened up in Colorado and the homeless rates increased tremendously, especially down in the Springs, because everybody came out here because pot was legal and, nobody wanted to work. So you've got those things to look at when you do it. And you got to remember too, Woodland Park, one of the first ordinances on the books was a Morals Act. So this is a community that has respected the morals of the citizens and how the town should be grown. So I think we have a little historical precedence there.
All right, Seth.
Yeah, I guess I've watched recreational marijuana as it's developed in Colorado, and while the revenue opportunities are enticing, the promises generally don't manifest. I remember when this was originally brought forth in the state, they were going to talk about all the schools they were going to build and how the roads were going to be pristine, and I've never seen that practically take effect. And with the instability, depending on availability from surrounding communities, that's just not predictable revenue. I'd hate to see us make all these plans and have all these promises and for the rug to be yanked out from under us. So if it were to become available here in Woodland Park, and pardon the pun, it would need to be a grassroots effort.
It's like you've been practicing that way. All right. Yeah. Any more from press row?
I got one more.
Okay.
All right. Well, this is a question. It kind of carried on with what George was saying about the change you guys have taken toward development, the Adventure and Shining Mountain. Is there any concerns that maybe there may be a little overreach on as far as the recreational go? Because there's been 3 golf courses at least in Colorado Springs that have shut down in the last decade, and I know that's because I used to play some of them, and with Shining Mountain you have what's probably been about 4 different operators there. Is there a feeling of the concerns about an overreach, and maybe like what would be plan B?
Ooh,
So
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Please.
Shining Mountain for me was a fairly low risk investment. The city got such a good deal for it, and the way we were able to pay for it out of the water fund, because the water that came with it or that we were able to bring back was worth more than what we paid for it. We're pretty much looking at it as a great investment just water wise. Should the golf course not entice the type of visitors or generate the revenue that we would like to, we still have 200 acres of open space that we got along with it. Great opportunity for trails for our citizens to go out and wander. Those take very little investment to maintain. And we've got another event space. We've got the UPass Cultural Center over here. They do a great job at booking events. They are getting to the point where they're almost breaking even, which is pretty phenomenal for a city-run event space, especially with the low rates that they charge. And for us to be able to have yet another event space that we got for basically a wash, I think is a great opportunity. And I have no doubt that Melody and her team over at UPCC, who are also going to be running events at the golf course, will be able to bring in weddings and other community gatherings. You can't beat the views from there.
Mary.
So I recently visited my parents in North Georgia, and they just built a new cabin in the mountains, and their county that they live in has a very similar feel to Woodland Park, and just went through an entire development program that's very similar to Shining Mountain. And so I was interested to see how they used those facilities in a way that could benefit the entire community. And it was really interesting how they, brought in a connectivity of the parks and pickleball courts and fitness centers and things. So I think we have incredible, it got my wheels turning on what Shining Mountain could be. And I don't know that the right word is overreach. I think that there could very well be an overextension fiscally with that program. I'm excited at the opportunity to hopefully make it a place that could run in the black. I think there's definitely potential, but it is going to require some time and, again, community engagement and ideas on how we could utilize that space to not be overextended.
Thank you.
I'm gonna
George.
chime in here. So I do want to point out that the golf course was purchased debt-free. There's, so we don't have that as a something on our back that we're going to try to have to pay off. The plan B would just be open space, right? I mean, and I know the next council likely, I don't think we're going to be bringing it up in the month of March, but right now that property is zoned PUD, so it still has the opportunity to be developed. We are going to convert that to public land so that it will never be developed.
Yeah, I mean, golf courses are tricky. Golf courses have people that love them and people that absolutely hate them. They take a lot of water. They take a lot of maintenance. But as someone who loves to play golf, they also bring a unique recreational opportunity to the city. And, as it pertains to the Springs, I don't know if you'll find a golf course in the Springs that quite has our views. So, and our altitude for that matter. So for people like me that don't hit the ball so far, this is a great golf course. But the reality is, if it doesn't work as a golf course, which I am extremely excited and passionate about making that so, George hit the nail on the head. It's a huge piece of open space with a really nice event center. So, I'm excited about improving it, fixing it, making it a course people want to come to Woodland Park to play, want to have lunch here, want to maybe shop at some of our businesses here. But if it doesn't work out, it's a massive amount of land that we got for, quite frankly, almost a steal, and it'll serve our community for generations to come. So, regardless of what your feeling is on the golf side, the open space alone is literally a generational acquisition and something our community can look forward to.
Don.
In comparing the golf course to the aquatic center, much more opportunity to make a profit and to operate the golf course in the black than there is ever with an aquatic center. Those are definitely, aquatic centers are almost always subsidized. They'll almost never make a profit. They're basically designed not to make a profit. So the golf course is an exciting venture for the city and a good move for the future. So.
Thank you. Catherine? You're
Everybody-
leaning forward.
Yeah, no, everybody's pretty much stated what we have all agreed to. I mean, the fact that we have it debt-free is huge. It's not like the Aquatic Center, which still has another 15 years, I believe. I can't remember the actual number on the loan, but that's never going to run in the black, even if we do pay off the loan. So, and then like the Plan B, you've got great cross-country skiing or snowshoeing in the winter. So, yeah.
If we get snow.
Assuming we get snow. This
Yeah,
is true.
yeah.
Bad year for that, but
Ultimate
yes.
Frisbee, all
Ultimate,
that.
yeah, sledding, everything. So,
All right, thank you. Press, are we good?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good deal. We'll move on. Hey, Mary, we're going to give you your third question.
Okay.
Describe a concrete plan for communicating major decisions before and after votes. Plain language summaries, FAQs, office hours, those type of things. And how will you measure whether residents feel informed? You want me to do that again?
No.
Okay.
Communicating, we have a lot of tools in today's day and age to properly communicate to the community. I think this is very similar to the first question I was asked about transparency, and so I'll be a little redundant in saying that a key to that is to making decisions that need to be out in the public, and allow them to know what's being discussed. The city, I think, has done a really good job with that thus far. I echo, I think Steph said, when there's not 100 people lined up for public comment, then we're doing something right. And that would be the primary indicator, I think, that not that topics can't be charged, and it's not an unhealthy thing when there's a lot of engagement at meetings. Sometimes there are certain topics that require that kind of engagement, and it's important that we take the time to listen to all of them. I've sat in situations where there's been limits to public comment. And in that case, I don't know if it's a really charged situation, it's good to limit public comment. It's, it might be hours of sitting up here and listening to what people have to say, but that's our job. And so in making the decisions, you want to be transparent in that way. After a decision is made, again, technology, being able to, what's up Woodland Park, I think is one of the coolest tools we have. I just love saying it. People love going to it. It's easy to read. You can get a plethora of information through avenues like that allow the community to know what decisions were made, why, and what happens next.
Good. Thank you, Mary. And we have one more question, just to give you an idea where we are here. George, I'm going to throw the next question to you as the mayoral candidate. And then we're going to go, we have some questions for the audience up here that Carol will handle. And then we'll finish with the lightning round. That's right. I'm kind of excited about that. We'll get ready to roll. So George, we're going to finish up the 2-minute questions with you. What is your top public safety concern for Woodland Park over the next 2 years? And what is one concrete action the city should take to address it?
Top public safety concern. Goodness. I think we've pointed out a number of times, we have a great police force. So I feel that is not a concern. If that's what you're asking for, a concern, then I would have to say we've had some. This may sound a little small, but we've had some pretty big potholes that were of some concern.
Caves.
Definitely
I think the word's caves. Yeah.
And I know there's still some going on. So I think that would be one of my top public safety concerns. The rest, I just love how the city's operating at this point. Our parks are doing well. You go to Memorial Park, no one has a public safety concern there. You attend the events that we're holding, and even some additional ones that are going to come online. Some of our what we call our signature events. I never have a concern at those. And let's see, I'm kind of at a loss for what would be a public safety issue other than the massive potholes that we've got.
Yeah, that's fair. Ray, did you have something to say?
I would, yeah. So one thing that, as we seem to be all in agreement, and the community seems to have the sentiment too, that downtown development is happening. We're really focusing on attracting people to, attractions, restaurants, shops that are being built downtown. I think traffic is probably the number one safety concern. As we have more people crossing Highway 24, now that there will be Tava House and other things in Woodland Station, and hopefully more activity going on that south side of Highway 24. Unless we have a reliever route or something that would decrease the amount of traffic, we're going to really have to be very cognizant of what that looks like for our kids jumping off the sidewalk. And, so that to me would be a major important discussion.
That's great.
All right. Jeffrey?
Wildfire. We, despite the scenic beauty of our community, we live in the most critical high fire danger zone in the state of Colorado, according to the Colorado Forestry Service. So the question really isn't if, the question is when. And I think there's a lot of opportunity in this community that remains untapped to come together and talk about how do we address that. It's a massive, monumental problem that requires federal, state, and local resources to solve. Unfortunately, we can't solve it by ourselves at the council level because of that. But, I worry very much that this is going to be a very long and stressful summer. And, it just takes one person doing something dumb in the right conditions. And, I lived in California during the Paradise Fire situation. 90% of the community was lost. So
Thank you, Jeffrey. Catherine?
So I'm going to piggyback off of Mary and Jeff. So I don't disagree at all on the wildfire. One of the struggles that we will have is that citizens don't want to cut trees down, and there's nothing we can do to force them to do that. So that's in and of itself on top of the other issues that make wildfire so scary. And then Mary, I totally agree on the traffic. Unfortunately, that downtown corridor is not controlled by us. That's CDOT. And so there's not much we can do. We can complain all day long, and we did finally get a Hawk system light, which we all hate, I'm sure. But I don't know what the answer to that is in that we don't have control over it. So, but you are correct. It is a pretty high safety issue. So.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We're going to now go to some questions from the audience. Carol?
I have four, and I want to address each of you with these four questions that may end up just being
1 minute.
For 1 minute each and no rebuttals. It's going to be very similar to the lightning round, but these are questions from the audience. And I'm going to start with Jeff. This question is, how important are visitors to Woodland Park and our revenue? And share with us any data you may be aware of about the number of visitors we have.
That is one of those numbers that is extremely difficult to pin down. I've heard all kinds of different data points. I've spent a lot of time talking to our city manager, Aaron Vasilati, about how do we quantify that. The reality is it's virtually impossible for us to do so from a quantitative standpoint. How important is it? It's very important. Visitors, we want them to stop. We want them to spend money in our businesses. So it's definitely important to get visitors here, but how much of it they really make up, it's extremely difficult to pin down.
And everybody can have a shot at these questions, but if you'd like, but it's a minute.
Don?
I was gonna say, visitors to Woodland Park are our lifeblood. If they're not here during the summer supporting our businesses, the businesses won't make it through the winter. And I can tell you that from having ran restaurants up here in the 90s. And it's very hard to qualify how we can judge how much money they're bringing in. Lodging tax is fairly easy because there's a line for it. But as far as sales tax, that's all mixed in. You're not going to know really. It's hard to separate out what the restaurants bring in and how much of that was from visitors, that kind of thing. So, but we do need to make Woodland Park a designation place for visitors to come and spend money and go home.
I like that. Catherine, do you want to address this as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest metric, and it's by no means solid one, but is our sales tax revenue. Because we can see our sales tax revenue goes up starting at the end of May,
Yep.
and it goes through October, and then it dips. And if we have more residents or visitors, I'm sorry, we have more visitors this time of year, this year, I would venture to bet because of the weather. So that we'll see maybe if there's another increase, but that's, I think, the easiest metric to watch for visitors.
Seth?
So I have no interest in seeing Woodland Park become like a Breckenridge or something like that. But I would like to make it more convenient for people to stop and enjoy our city for an afternoon. Anybody who sat out, in front of Joni's or Beer Works during a summer day, you can watch the rolling RV and boat show go straight through town. And if we're able to capture some of those people who would, regularly just drive through, give them an opportunity to visit one of our restaurants, to visit one of our retail establishments, I think that will help bring additional revenue to our town and make our quality of life go up. And there are some things that the city is already working on. The Bergstrom Park expansion is going to give a convenient place for people traveling eastbound to be able to pull over and, park their RVs, park their cars, and walk our downtown for an afternoon.
Mary?
I agree, and I think that having an emphasis on studies around wayfinding and making it easier for people to be able to stop, because tourism and visitors are very important. Having a place for them to stay if they want to spend the weekend is very important. And so exploring the opportunities that we have for hotel growth or short-term vacation rental growth around the downtown area is important. We have some opportunities with that. So fostering that sort of development to make it easier and to make it more available for people to visit Woodland Park is very important.
George?
Yep. So you brought up a good point. Wayfinding is a program, I guess, underneath the Main Street program. So we are going to be taking a look at the sign pollution along 24 to the extent that we could affect that. Also, once again, how do we get people to pull over and recognize that we have free parking up here? That's a big thing. And then finally, we are bringing a new visitor center online. So that will be also another way to help with some of the issues that we may run into. But it is extremely important.
Thank you, George. I'll try to hit all of these questions, but this one will be a little bit different than our downtown and visitors and revenue. And I'll start with Dawn. Will you commit to recusing yourself from any action on issues where you may have a conflict of interest?
Yes. I already have to do it being a member of PRAB. They get stuff before the planning commission does it. So I have to recuse myself from the PRAB meeting and go away so that when I hear it as a quasi judicial function at planning, it's new to me. So I have no issues with conflicts of interest in recusing myself.
Catherine?
I too have none. I have recused myself occasionally in the last 4 years. So I've also given what I thought could have been a conflict and had counsel tell me it was not. So yes, I would not have an issue with recusing myself.
This is a pretty straightforward question. Seth?
Yeah, I would 100% recuse myself where there were any conflict of interest. In fact, I'll be doing it at the next meeting.
Okay. And Mary?
Yes, recusal is a responsible and an ethical action. We have a great city attorney that can help guide us when we're in situations where we might need to carefully evaluate if it's appropriate to recuse. But in my position, absolutely. If it was a necessity and recommended, then yes.
And George?
Yes, absolutely.
Jeff?
Yep. I can't even think of anything that I would have a conflict of interest on to need to recuse myself from, but should that come up, no question, no problem, no hesitation.
Okay. We'll start with Catherine on this next question. Please share your understanding of the TIF program and what about it should the taxpayers be on the hook to subsidize private business? Does that make sense? So this is written in Sanskrit, but
Kind of, I mean, not being a member of the DDA, I'm somewhat limited in my knowledge, but my understanding is that any development that is within the DDA has the right to apply for a tax incentive financing. And it is based on a number of issues, I believe, or not issues, but metrics to where they come to that. But again, it's not anything we get to decide up on city council. So that's the extent of what I know.
okay. Seth?
So I had the opportunity to take a course on tax increment financing at the Colorado Municipal League Conference last summer. So I would say I have an elementary understanding of it at this point. It is a little complicated, but where that money comes from is not necessarily the rest of the community subsidizing. It's taxes that are not being collected that kind of should be. So when a property gets tax increment financing, they look at the valuation before improvements are made, and then they look at the valuation after improvements are made. And that's where that money comes from. Is so they're pretty much not paying a portion of those property taxes they otherwise would, or they're getting the reimbursement from that money. So it's not necessarily community subsidized, but it is a form of subsidy.
Thank you. Mary?
Could you repeat the question one more time? Because I feel like there might be a component in that being missed.
Yeah, I think you're right. The component I think that they were emphasizing was subsidizing private business. But the question is, please share your understanding of the TIF program and to what extent should the taxpayers be on the hook to subsidize private industry or private business?
Okay, so I think Seth explained the program beautifully and how it works. And the one point that I'd like to add to that is that it's a reimbursement for investment that someone who is building something to benefit the community, to public improvement investment that they've put in infrastructure, put in roads, sidewalks, curbs, gutters, things that that will be public benefit and use in the future. And so the building, so for example, if we're looking at a restaurant in the middle of town that's being built, that improvement offers considerable added value to Woodland Park, and the tax base amount will increase as a result of that building being built on that property. Around it are a lot of public improvements. And so it's not a subsidy from other taxpayers' pockets, it's from the actual incremental difference in what the taxable base is for that property after it's completed.
Thank you, Mary.
George?
Yeah, so, and everybody was spot on in various ways, so all good stuff. The monies actually come from the Downtown Development Authority District. So those, there's residences that are a couple anyway that are in the district, as well as the commercial buildings. Those property taxes can be fractionally delivered to the DDA. Currently, the DDA is collecting 100% of that property tax. So that's where the monies come from, that district, and they all go to the DDA, and then they get doled out in the form of TIF. And that, again, will end in 2032.
Jeff?
So I'll answer it in reverse. I strongly am opposed to the public taxpayers subsidizing private development, and I don't really care what private development it is, what the perceived benefit may be. It is not the taxpayer's job to pay for private development costs. So I'm definitely against it from that perspective. The big issue that I have with the concept of a tax increment financing in general, though, is it diverts money from other taxing districts that otherwise would have received it, whether that be the schools, the ambulance district, the city, the county. To say it's not a subsidy is a bit of a stretch, in my opinion. That's exactly what it is. It's public dollars paying for private development. So I couldn't be any more against it.
And Dawn?
My biggest problem with the TIF is what Jeff brought up as far as taking money from other taxing entities, fire department, ambulance district, library district, school district, all those other people that now lose out on that money until the end of that TIF is over with. So that could be a big problem if the fire department needs a major piece of equipment and the taxing isn't there for them. So.
Good questions, great answers. Catherine?
Yeah, I just have one. It's just historically, we as a community or we as the citizens in 2020 voted for this, the DDA. So it came with the tax, with the TIF. So while we may or may not like it, the citizens did in 2020 agree to it, whether we like it or not, correct? So I don't know. It's just a.
Oh, if you're asking me to.
No,
I have
no,
answer.
sorry, just.
I don't know.
No,
I mean, I'm retired. Okay.
You have 2 minutes to answer, Carol.
Oh, I've got all kinds of answers for that. This is the fourth question. And remember, we have the lightning round coming up and your closing comments. So I started with Catherine on this last one, so I'm going to start with Seth. Beyond the downtown, how do you help businesses?
Oh, okay. Well, again, our charter prohibits us from directly incentivizing businesses. But I think what we do to indirectly incentivize that is provide good city services, provide reliable infrastructure, try and keep tax rates low so that operating a business in Woodland Park is not as expensive as maybe in Colorado Springs or somewhere else. Those are the types of things I think we can do to help businesses outside the DDA.
Mary?
With the review and implementation of the new uniform code, I think it's really good that home-based businesses and smaller type businesses in that capacity are friendly in Woodland Park and available for homeowners to be able to operate in most places out of their home. And so that's one way to help businesses outside of the downtown area.
George?
Yeah, could you repeat the question again? Because so we're saying beyond downtown, but I guess
So we had a question earlier that was basically that kind of answered downtown. This
Okay.
is beyond downtown.
Beyond. Yeah, so I like the discussion that's going on up here, and that's one of the things I really love about a strong council, because we debate and we help each other out and collaborate on ideas. So the uniform code that Mary's talking about, what was that? 3-year project to standardize our development code. And it looks great. We've gone through it too many times now. So the uniform code, the public infrastructure, that's really the best we could do, right? Make it easier to start a business, make it reliable, provide reliable city infrastructure and protection, police, right? So.
Yeah, I think, because of the limitations we're placed under with the charter, I think the thing that I would say kind of piggybacks on what George just said, making sure that the information that you need to know to start a business is readily available, that it's not confusing, that you don't look at our website and go, I don't understand. So that's something that we can do that definitely helps. So that's what I would say on that.
Don?
They've pretty much hit it. I mean, the revisement of the development codes, making sure that we have the proper infrastructure, that the services that they need are there. But we always have to remember that the least government on a business is the best. Business knows how to spend their money, invest it, and use it the best to make a profit. So us, by being government, putting unnecessary restraints and stuff on them as far as being able to run a business is what we have to watch out for.
And Catherine, before we hit the lightning round.
Yeah, so first, I have to correct, I got dyslexic. The DDA was voted on in 2002, not
Yeah.
2020, sorry. I did
Right
get,
numbers.
yeah, I got dyslexic. I would, basically agree with everybody. I think for the entire city, whether it's the DDA, the downtown district, or it's the city itself or surrounding it, the least amount of time through planning, the fastest, the faster we can get the applications through planning commission, through city council, I think would be the easiest way to reduce costs, or the most efficient way to reduce costs.
All right. Those are the end of the questions we had, or the vetted questions from the audience. My own personal thanks to each of you for stepping up and taking this risk, personal, professional risk to represent our community. My true gratitude to each of you. All right, Steve.
All right. So here's where we're going to finish up with our quick hit lightning round. And when we're done with that, each of you will have a 2-minute closing opportunity. And I want to run backwards to this one too, Jeffrey. So we're going to hit you. Each of you will have 45 seconds, no rebuttal, any of that kind of thing. Tammy's fingers gonna be working fast over here at 45, and we'll be rolling. So here we go with Jeffrey. Jeffrey, one city service you consider non-negotiable to protect in the budget.
Police department. Period.
All right. Moving on. Don, one policy or program you would review first when elected for effectiveness.
Oh, boy. That opens a can of worms. Personally, I can't think of one I would single out right off the bat.
Yeah, that's okay. Catherine, here we go. A downtown improvement you would prioritize in the next year.
Safer streets.
All right. Thank you. You guys are rolling. There's no. Seth, one infrastructure issue you think is most underaddressed by the city today.
Ooh, underaddressed. Well, frankly, we're limited by dollars and time. And I do believe that our public works department is handling their priorities and their budget appropriately. I don't know of one that is underaddressed by the city. We take things seriously, we take our services seriously, and we take our infrastructure seriously.
Thank you. Mary, one thing you will do immediately if elected to improve trust and transparency quickly.
Communication. Making sure that the community is in the know on what's happening and has the opportunity to voice their opinion.
Okay, thank you. George, one opportunity that Woodland Park should be pursuing right now.
Man, we've just done a bunch, so one opportunity we should be pursuing right now. I've got one. I can't talk about it.
Okay. Okay. So hear that, press row. You can go after him later. Yeah. Guys, you did a great job. We had 45 seconds. That was way too long for you guys. So we're going to come back with a closing statements from each of you, and you've done a beautiful job so far. I'm proud of you guys. So Jeffrey, we're going to start with you. You got 2 minutes.
Awesome. So again, thank everyone for attending tonight. I want to thank everyone sitting up here for being here. This time was more fun than last time. Last time we had 10 people up here, 8 council candidates, 2 mayoral. It was a lot to get through. I really enjoyed this time around. We got to do more questions. And I really appreciate everyone's thoughtful input on the questions that they got. Like I said in my opening statement, this is an exciting time to be in Woodland Park. We got so many positive things going on, whether it's our Parks and Rec department, the Tava development, just so Bergstrom Park. It's the crazy thing about living in Woodland Park right now is there's so much positive going on. It's hard to just focus on a single thing. So, we have an outstanding community here full of truly terrific people that really do care about this community. And, despite any of your personal feelings about any one of us sitting up here tonight, I think we all demonstrated that we do care about this community. We all have, I think, a shared goal between all of us to truly make this the best possible place to live that we can. And I truly think that at the end of the day is the primary responsibility of government. It's not to tell you how to live your life or what you can and can't do per se. It's about providing you, the taxpayer, the citizen, with the services and the amenities that make you want to call this place home. And I really do believe that we've done an outstanding job overall, especially with this current council in doing so. So I want to thank everyone again for being here tonight. I hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as I did, and I hope everyone has a safe drive home.
Good. Thank you, Jeffrey. Don.
Well, I want to go ahead and thank the chamber again in the city for providing this opportunity. If any of you remember, probably 8 years ago when I did my first one, they had to hold up this thing for about an hour and a half because I couldn't get off work on time. So it's been nice to be here on time and to be able to express some of my views and opinions about Woodland Park. Like I said, I've been here for a long time. They paved the road in front of my house 2 years after I bought it. So that tells you about how long ago I've been here, or how long I've been here. And I do have a heart for the city. Truly, I have no other objectives or agendas other than I'm a servant. I think I've proven it over the years with service on comprehensive plan boards, planning commission, Parks and Rec, and being involved in a lot of the things that are coming about right now in the city with Avenger and Bergstrom and Meadowwood and such. So I would just like this opportunity to serve you guys by being a part of the council in the future.
Thank you, Don. Catherine.
I too would like to thank everybody for coming out this evening, thanking the chamber, the city, Carol and Steve and Tammy. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. Serving on the Woodland Park City Council over the past 4 years has been an honor. I care deeply about this community and about making thoughtful decisions that protect what makes Woodland Park special. Together, we've made real progress, protecting open space, improving our parks and sports facilities, updating our land use code, and working to secure our long-term water supply. But there's still important work ahead of us, and our community continues to grow. As a 24-year resident, a working professional, a wife, stepmom, and grandmother, I understand how important it is to keep Woodland Park a place where families want to live, businesses can thrive, and our natural beauty is preserved. If reelected, I will continue to listen, work hard, and serve this community with the same dedication I have brought over the past 4 years. I would be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Seth.
Well, it's been a long night, so won't try to pontificate here. Hopefully you've all had a chance to get to know me a little bit better. Really, I do have a heart for this community. I will do my best by this community. I make the commitment that I'm always available for a good faith conversation. I'm open to changing my mind if presented with new and compelling information. And I will act with the citizens in the city of Woodland Park always at the top of my priorities. Should any of you have any questions, want to grab me by the collar and get that question in, I'm happy to stick around and talk to any one of you. My information is online. You can find my phone number, you can find my email address, and I promise I'll answer. I think good governance should be responsive. But regardless of who you end up voting for, please vote your conscience and please vote. Voter turnout is so important. When a small group of us is making decisions for all of us, almost always never turns out quite right. So please get out there, vote, make sure you're registered to vote, encourage your friends and neighbors to vote. Thank you.
Yeah, that's, at least you didn't say call late and call often. That was good. Thank you, Seth. Mary?
Well, I want to thank everybody again for being here tonight, and again for the chamber and the city for putting this together. This election is about the future of Woodland Park. I chose to run because I love this community, and I believe voters deserve leaders who are thoughtful about the future and represent the entire community. My goal is to listen, bring people together, and make balanced decisions that support residents, local businesses, and responsible growth. Respectfully ask for your vote so we can move Woodland Park forward together. And I am also available, email, phone, after the meeting. I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. George?
I'm going to probably say the same things, but thank you, Deb Miller and the chamber. Thank you very much. This was a fantastic forum. I really enjoy these. Thank you, Carol, Steve, and Tammy. The sign holding was great. Yeah. I did want to, I want to echo what Seth was saying too. Please get out and vote. Tell your neighbors to vote. There is some concern about low voter turnout in April that usually, so please let people know and get people out there. I also want to let you know, all of the folks here anyway, that the incumbents and I will be at Beer Works this evening with pizza, and we're willing to mingle, and you could throw those gotcha questions at us there too as well. So thank you very much. Thank you for just a great event. And thank you, Mayor Case, for the last 2 years.
Yeah. Applause is appropriate at that time. There you go. George, thank you. And I'd agree, guys, make sure that we get out and vote. It's really important to get those numbers. Hey, you guys in the crowd, amazing job. Good job. You behave yourself. You get a bonus, extra 20 minutes of recess. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the 2026 City of Woodland Park Candidates Forum, hosted by Greater Woodland Park Chamber of Commerce. Deb, thank you for all the work you did behind this. And we want to thank the candidates for coming out and answering the questions. You did a great job. Hey, have a good night and a safe trip home.